Encountered snow fog from the little ice age on the road. My husband sold my seat to the neighbor mother and daughter. The little orange cat lying on my lap timely reminded me with its thoughts, "Master, it's freezing deadly outside. You must not get out of the car. Put on your winter coat properly. This area will be covered in snow fog. We'll have to wait out these few days before we can leave." I felt as if an awl had been driven hard into my brain, suddenly jolting me awake. Just now, my mother-in-law told me to get off the car. Meanwhile, my husband was bowing his head collecting large red envelopes from the neighbors. By my seat, the little orange cat suddenly kicked its hind legs and jumped onto my shoulder. Big Shot, it's a big shot. With the little orange cat's reminder, I latched onto a Big Shot's coattails, wrapped in a cotton-padded jacket while eating hot instant noodles. Sitting in the Land Rover coldly watching my mother-in-law's family going in circles like ghosts in the snowy mist. 01, Master, we will encounter the little ice age snow mist. Once again, I heard the inner voice of the little orange cat. This winter has been intermittently cold. When I returned to my hometown for the new year, I brought 2 large suitcases of winter clothes. My mother-in-law kept nagging at me. On the way back, I started being able to hear the thoughts of the little orange cat. I didn't have a pleasant time in my hometown either. All my relatives back home keep asking me why I don't want children. Living in a big city really makes a difference. You can even choose not to have kids. My husband was playing with his phone nearby, while my mother-in-law pretended not to hear. I was left alone to deal with all these ants and busybodies. On the way back, to save on gas money, my mother-in-law made my sister-in-law's family squeeze into the same car with us. My father-in-law, mother-in-law, and sister-in-law's family all crowded in the front, while I sat in the back alone, holding my little orange cat and a pile of luggage. Thanks to my little orange cat's reminder, my suitcase was packed with cotton-padded clothes. My mother-in-law kept complaining that I brought 2 suitcases of useless things. I thought if I could endure this journey for over 10 hours, I'd be home. Unexpectedly, halfway through, I started feeling the car getting colder. Juno, get out and check how many cars are ahead, my mother-in-law casually ordered me. Ahead was an endless line of cars, one after another. It started snowing outside too, with signs of getting heavier. The little orange cat in my arms suddenly gave a small shiver. That old woman took money from that woman and wants to force Master out of the car. There'll be a brief mini ice age outside. Master must absolutely not get out of the vehicle. We're going to encounter a mini ice zone. You can enter but can't leave. I saw in the distance that our neighbor's car had broken down, and she and her daughter were both looking pitifully in our direction. 02. Our neighbor Celeste takes the same route as us, and she usually looks at my husband with those pitiful eyes. Now, seeing Celeste's gaze directed at him, the man immediately turned his head and glared at me. Juno, get out of the car quickly and take a look. What kind of cursed weather is this? I feel like I'm freezing to death. When my husband spoke, his eyes darted around nervously, clearly guilty. Ugh, what a disgusting thing. Master, don't get out of the car. The little orange cat raised one front paw. What are you dawdling for? Seeing I hadn't moved, my mother-in-law raised her hand to hit me. I quickly dodged. Darwin said it's freezing cold outside. I need to put on more layers. I carried my 2 suitcases to the top and hugged my husband Darwin's thick coat in my arms. Meanwhile, I saw my husband and in-laws all looking down at their phones. That woman handed out red envelopes to everyone, so Celeste was actually offering more money. She was trying every possible way to get me out of the car. Meanwhile, the little orange cat stared at the trembling Celeste in her own car with its big, round eyes from the window, cursing profusely. Green tea bitch, honey. Get out and check how much longer until we can move forward. He pretended to be the perfect husband. Honey, sitting in the car for too long is stuffy and uncomfortable. I'm just concerned about you and want you to stretch your legs. Seeing my indifference, my husband tentatively tried again. Our neighbor's car broke down with their child inside, and they have no air conditioning. They're freezing, you see. As he spoke, his gaze drifted towards Celeste again. It was then that I realized this man had probably been making eyes at Celeste for quite some time. Some men just have a taste for garbage. Then I'll grant him his wish. No air conditioning in the car is truly pitiful. How about we let Celeste and her mother ride in our car? Just as my husband's face lit up with surprise, I sighed again. What a pity there's too much stuff in the car. No room left. 03. Darwin was clearly checkmated by my move. This damn man isn't worthy of being my husband. He froze for a moment before quickly saying, "Squeeze in, everyone's having a hard time." I glanced outside. A fog had rolled in. Snow carries mist within it. The mist holds wind, and the wind swirls with ice shards. The mini ice age zone only covers this stretch of road, but outsiders cannot enter. Master, endure through this section. The temperature is dropping bit by bit, truly resembling the conditions of a mini ice age as described by the little orange cat. I believe what the little orange cat said. This snow fog seems intent on keeping everyone here, not allowing outsiders to enter. It's likely that no relevant personnel can come in to rescue us. We can only rely on ourselves now. With the car's air conditioning on, they can't feel how quickly the temperature is dropping. My husband didn't notice anything unusual outside either. He was still collecting red envelopes. Celeste and her daughter got into our car with a pile of belongings. After distributing another round of red envelopes, they gave everyone a snack package too, except me. She deliberately smiled at me. Juno, a household should be led by the man. I've given all the money to Darwin, then took out a piece of dried fruit and stuffed it into Darwin's mouth. Darwin shook his phone at me, still chewing on the dried fruit. Don't worry, honey, I'll keep the money safe and won't spend it recklessly. He never eats this kind of stuff normally, but now he's enjoying it very much. Meanwhile, I took the opportunity to move my 2 suitcases under my feet and also stuff my husband and father-in-law's thick coats underneath. I was sitting with my legs almost curled up. Celeste only spoke to Darwin after getting in the car. Her daughter suddenly pinched the little orange cat in my arms. This made my little orange cat meow at her. Instead, she screamed loudly, "Auntie, your cat is so scary. Does it not like me?" When I looked at her, she suddenly threw herself into Celeste's arms with a tearful voice. "Mom, this auntie is terrifying. She's going to hit me." I just glanced at her. The little orange cat in my arms had its fur almost standing on end, and meowed several more times. Little Green Tea, 04. The weather is getting colder. The little orange cat's inner voice kept muttering, "Grandma and the others are planning to kick me out of the car." Everyone in the car is now looking down at their phones. They created a group chat. My little orange cat seems to know everything. I gently patted its little head. The snow fog outside the window is getting heavier now. The temperature inside the car remains around 23 degrees, still very warm. All the cars on the road were crawling forward at a snail's pace. "Juno, the road is so rough. If we need to push the car later, will you get out?" Celeste suddenly brought up this provocative topic. The mother-in-law sneered. Of course she should get out and push the car. Celeste showed a hint of smugness again. There's only so much air in the car. With one less person breathing, it'll be warmer. Having one person get out and push the car can indeed save fuel. The little orange cat in my arms suddenly rolled to my feet. When it looked up at me, it showed an angry expression. Even my little orange cat thinks this is nonsense. But everyone else glanced at me, whether intentionally or unintentionally. "Master, it's freezing outside. You mustn't go down there." 05. My little orange cat is truly angry, anticipated their anticipation. This husband Darwin is almost becoming someone else's husband now. I don't even want him anymore. Celeste sent him several red packets on WeChat to have him kick me out of the car. Not only can teach me a lesson, but also give him face. A man should act like a man. If a woman doesn't obey, she must be punished, Celeste said quietly, watching as the snow outside grew heavier, a triumphant smile playing at the corners of her lips. I also looked outside. I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination, but the ice on the car windows seemed to have thickened, as if it might freeze the glass to the point of shattering. As I withdrew my gaze, I noticed Celeste had been staring at me. Just then, I saw someone outside park their car by the roadside and dash into the nearby woods. Shortly after, he came running back to the car carrying some firewood. 1, 2, 3. Many people got off the vehicle one after another to gather firewood in the woods. Apparently, many understood that before walking this path, they must first ensure their own survival. The little ice age is temporary. However, this area will be covered by snow fog, making it completely inaccessible to outsiders. It's just that those currently trapped in this area are unaware of this situation. However, all the smart people could sense that something was very wrong. Humans have an instinctive sense of danger. Even now, online reports only mention heavy snowfall in this area causing continuous road blockages. Most people are currently wearing light clothing. Everyone is making preparations to keep warm. What a bunch of fools. Can you even burn firewood in a car? Celeste scoffed at what those people were doing. She glanced at me out of the corner of her eye. Just someone who contributed nothing, soaking up all that warmth for free. I brought so much food, and I don't want to share with this kind of person. Useless thing. The old woman glared at me fiercely, then mocked those people. It won't take long to get through this section. We brought plenty of food ourselves, and the car is warm. What are we afraid of? I deliberately said. Honey, go down and find some wood too. Although we can't burn it in the car, when the fuel runs low, we can light a fire outside to keep warm. 06. My words provoked my mother-in-law to start cursing loudly. You jinx. We'll be out of here soon. Darwin is growing increasingly dissatisfied with me. If you want to pick it up, get off the car and do it yourself. My sister-in-law glared at me. Sis, if you want to get out and push the car, go ahead and do it yourself. My heart sank with a thud, just as the little orange cat said. They're trying to find a way to get me out of the car. As Celeste said, there's food and drinks in the car. We lack nothing. Yet only I am the superfluous one. The atmosphere in the car was somewhat strange, as if I were an outsider, and even Celeste seemed like part of their family. They were all chatting on WeChat. I held the little orange cat in my arms. Calm yourself down. At that moment, I saw many people getting out of their cars to knock on others' windows. It seemed they were exchanging items with each other. Some traded instant noodles for hot water, while others exchanged thin cotton clothes for water, apparently. Most people hadn't brought thick winter coats. Juno, you'll have to handle your own meal later. Surprisingly, no one objected to Celeste's words. Just then, someone knocked on our car window. I'd like to exchange some of my food for one of your cotton coats. I was holding two men's cotton padded jackets in my arms. Just as my husband was about to refuse, my mother-in-law looked at me. Don't you have cotton padded jackets in that box of yours? You can trade them for food. The food we brought doesn't include yours. Celeste and her daughter pushed me out with all their strength. With a click sound, the car door beside me suddenly opened. I fell completely out of the car. 07, you can trade your cotton padded jacket for food yourself. Celeste chuckled as she pushed all my suitcases out of the car too. Without me in these things, she can finally lie down comfortably. I looked at my husband, who guiltily turned his head away, no longer looking at me. Since he's heartless to me, I won't show them any mercy either. The little orange cat said this area would be covered in snow fog. No one can get out without enduring these few days. Let's see how long the little fuel they have in their car can last. I brushed the snow off myself, handed a cotton padded coat to the man, and draped another large one over myself. I have a piece of news to exchange for a seat in your car. After putting on the large cotton padded coat, the man glanced at my two suitcases. What's in your box? Cotton padded clothes and quilts. The man smiled. Get in the car first, then we'll talk. His car was a Land Rover, which guzzled gas. The little orange cat sprawled comfortably on the big seat, with the tips of its claws exposed. My name is Darwin. If you give me a cotton coat, it won't take long to get you through this stretch, though I don't have much food here. The little orange cat rolled over and stared blankly at Darwin. Big boss. Big boss, please take me in. The pitiful look of the little orange cat made Darwin laugh. He reached out and gently touched the little orange cat's head. My name is Juno, and everything I'm telling you is true. My serious expression made Darwin stop smiling. Everything I said is true. The temperature outside will keep dropping. The snow fog will get worse, and no one from outside can get in. We'll be trapped in the snow fog, experiencing a mini ice age disaster. Darwin's expression also turned grave. According to what you're saying, we'll encounter a natural disaster. Actually, there's no need to worry. Someone will come to rescue us. It's useless. I shook my head. We'll endure several days of disaster. This area is surrounded by snow fog. People from outside simply can't get in. Darwin didn't quite believe what I said. He immediately made a phone call. After a while, his expression also turned grim. He asked a friend at the weather station, and they hadn't detected any natural disasters in this area at all. This is too strange. The little orange cat couldn't be wrong. If it said outside rescue couldn't get in, then rescue truly couldn't get in. Many people still don't realize they can't get out now. Only when they notice tomorrow and try to contact the outside world will what's happening here be exposed. But it's all in vain. None of us can get out. How long? How long until we can get out? I shook my head. I only know it's been a few days, not the exact details. Darwin gave me a strange look but ultimately chose to believe. He closed the car door and waved to the vehicles behind. One person got out from each car and gathered together, with just one glance. I felt immensely grateful to the little orange cat. If it weren't for the little orange cat reminding me that this person was a big shot with strong survival skills, I wouldn't have given him my cotton padded jacket, nor would I have deliberately let Celeste push me down. I took this gamble. If you win the gamble, you get to live. 08. Nighttime temperatures will drop below 40 degrees as darkness gradually falls. Darwin hasn't returned yet. I looked ahead and saw Darwin's car wasn't far away. They were still burning gasoline, with the interior lights on, constantly draining power. I curled the corner of my mouth slightly. You provide the cotton padded jackets, and I'll supply the food for these days. After Darwin returned to the car, two more people followed him over. They discussed and came up with a plan to gather all the people they knew, drain the gasoline from everyone's cars, and in the end, keep only two vehicles. One was Darwin's Land Rover, and the other was someone else's off-road vehicle. The more fuel-consuming cars were all abandoned by the roadside. I watched as they proceeded in an orderly manner, remaining extremely calm, and I even noticed something unusual in the snowstorm. They didn't question a single word I said, thinking about my husband, who kicked me out of the car for another woman and didn't even believe what I said, though heartbroken. I also felt a sense of relief. Their car kept pushing forward, and I could still see it, but no matter how hard they tried to push ahead, they soon returned to their original position. That sense of moving forward bit by bit is actually just an illusion. Darwin and the others just started, leaving many marks on the ground, and the cars abandoned by their companions. After walking for a while, they still ended up back where they started, from the very beginning. The little orange cat quietly nestled in my arms. Every car had its dim yellow lights on. One car after another kept crawling slowly forward. Darwin was just talking to me moments ago, but now he's fallen silent. Even inside the car, I could feel the temperature continuously dropping. It's now clear we're dealing with a bizarre phenomenon, yet the car won't stop, because it can't stop. Stopping means death. Night has finally arrived, with every moving car turning on its lights, crawling forward like turtles. After a while, we returned to the starting point again. I truly experienced what the little orange cat called the small ice age zone. Snow mist swirled around everything outside, relentlessly battering against the car windows. 09. The car was lifeless. Darwin had just pulled the car over and stood outside for a while. Many cars passed us. Then after he got in the car, he found his vehicle had returned to its original position. The car following behind us changed from a stranger's car back into his friend's car, however. The cars they had abandoned earlier were still left by the roadside untouched. Darwin and his friend reached a conclusion after their conversation. The boundary issue arises at nightfall. All the bizarre phenomena occur as night approaches, yet many people remain unaware of this phenomenon. Whether noticed or unnoticed, it makes little difference now. Throughout the night, no one would leave the blizzard where temperatures dropped below -40 degrees, no matter how far you go. You'll be pulled back to where you started, yet our phones can still reach the outside world, but they cannot call for help. Darwin had multiple conversations with that friend who worked at the weather station, could only ask about how the weather was, even mentioned the anomalies in our area, but his weather station friend seemed to automatically ignore the issue, still told Darwin, "The weather's fine, just mentioned it, didn't you hear? Darwin, drive carefully, there's localized light snow. Not heavy, it melts when it hits the road." I look at the snow outside, deeply imprinted by car tires. My heart suddenly tightens. Finally, someone has sensed this terrifying anomaly. I heard someone shouting outside the car. Shortly after, he got back into the car again. It seemed like it wasn't him who was screaming like a ghost outside the car just now. In this small glacial zone, no matter what you do at night, everything will return to its original state in the snowy night. There was a ghostly silence. The little orange cat in my arms was purring softly. Darwin glanced back. He pulled out a cigarette from his clothes and felt his pockets again. I took out a lighter from the pocket of the coat draped over me and handed it to him. "It belongs to my husband." Then I noticed there were words engraved on the lighter. "Celeste." I thought of my neighbor Celeste again. Suddenly, someone screamed again. A ghost barrier. It's a ghost barrier. They gathered some firewood by the roadside, intending to light a small fire outside the car to keep warm. However, just as they got it lit, a gust of wind blew by. Everyone quickly returned to the car. The small fire they had just started outside the car had vanished. The people in that car got back in and continued shouting for a while. On that airy first snowy night, all the car lights remained on. As dawn gradually broke, many people emerged from the vehicles and rushed toward the nearby woods. My husband Darwin suddenly started walking toward the car I was sitting in. Somehow, he was walking with a limp. "Juno, what's with the attitude? Get back to our own car." Darwin now had a scruffy beard and looked utterly exhausted. His eyes peered through the car window at the thick cotton-padded jacket covering me, with another one cushioning beneath. His eyes were completely bloodshot. Darwin reached out to pull the Land Rover's door handle, yanking it several times without success. Although it was daylight now and the temperature was rising, Darwin couldn't stand staying outside for long. I ignored him, closed my eyes and lay back on the seat. That night, no one in any of the cars could sleep. Everyone was returning from celebrating the new year in their hometowns, so there was plenty of food in the cars. Not many had brought winter coats. Darwin and the others had the car's air conditioning on all night, and by morning they probably noticed the fuel was running low. They are in urgent need of cotton-padded clothes now. Seeing that I ignored him, Darwin left dejectedly. During the day, we dare not burn oil, so we gather firewood for warmth. At night, we desperately need oil to run the air conditioner for heating. Everything related to oil is being saved rigorously as daytime temperatures rose. Nearly everyone got out of their vehicles. They gathered in small groups with nearby people. Everyone sought to obtain more information through others' updates, to get out. Even if I, the only one who knows, don't speak up, others will gradually figure it out. We are all trapped in a confined space, and during a mini ice age. Apart from my little orange cat knowing a bit, no one else has any idea how long we'll be stuck here. The fuel will run out, and the food will be gone. The worst part is, most people didn't have cotton-padded jackets. Most people here think we've encountered a ghost wall. I don't want to get off the vehicle myself, nor do I want to move around. First, I don't want to inhale cold air. Second, the little orange cat in my arms has been very quiet. It doesn't move, and neither do I. Just as I was feeding the freshly awakened orange kitten with a cat stick, I saw Celeste. The moment the little orange cat saw her, it assumed an aggressive posture, firmly bracing its hind legs and stretching its neck to stare outside. Celeste was wearing a thick sweater, hunching her neck. As she approached my car, Darwin got off the car to discuss matters with his friends, leaving me alone inside with the air conditioning still running. Celeste saw me enjoying the warm air conditioning alone, her eyes filled with resentment and jealousy. "Juno, give me the winter coat from your suitcase." I ignored her. The car was locked, leaving her standing outside, screaming helplessly. "Juno, don't be so selfish. We're from the same place. Are you really going to let us freeze to death?" Our car is out of gas. Earlier, when Celeste went to find her car, she discovered that someone had siphoned all the fuel and smashed the windows. Everything left in the car, like the cushions, was gone. She originally intended to retrieve these items to claim credit with Darwin, never expecting someone had already set their sights on her car. Now, if Celeste wants to keep staying in Darwin's car, she'll need to make herself useful. She had her eyes on my cotton padded jackets. I shook my head at her with a cold smile. What do you think is the reason I can stay in this car? As I spoke, I took out a bag of beef jerky and started eating. This is the lunch Darwin gave me. When Darwin returned, he was holding a thermometer and pressed it against the car window. The temperature instantly dropped to over 30 degrees below zero. Meanwhile, the phone displayed the temperature as 9 degrees outdoors with a southeast wind. It's the second day. Darwin's voice was filled with exhaustion. I understand what he means. He wants me to provide some new information. I tapped the little orange cat's head with my finger. It will be even colder tonight. I press my lips together and look out the window at the snow-blanketed space. Someone will die tonight. Darwin's face turned grim. The second night has come. The thermometer stuck outside the car window exploded right after nightfall. The moment it burst, the ice forming outside the window was noticeably thicker than before. The temperature suddenly dropped. Darwin's face grew even grimmer. It must be below -40 degrees. At this time last night, it wasn't dropping this fast. He suddenly cupped his hands toward me. Thank you. Once we get out, I'll surely repay you generously. He thanked me for saving his life. The clothes Darwin is wearing now and the quilt covering his legs are all the cotton garments I provided. Moreover, as the temperature dropped, many cars stalled. After all, they were returning from their hometowns, and most vehicles were heavily loaded. Some people started fires inside their cars. Some cars were set on fire during the night. They utilized the concept of the ghost wall phenomenon on the small icy river at night, opening the car door and letting the snowstorm sweep into the vehicle. The person ran outside. In less than a minute, they were back inside the car. When the fire couldn't be rekindled, and the car wasn't burning either, some cars, because the fire caught too quickly, after being automatically restored by this area, it only returned to the moment it was first ignited. There was considerable damage. The snow mist is like a monster in the night, ravaging everyone's heart. Someone's dead. Someone's dead. Those who freeze to death at night cannot come back to life. When I saw Darwin again, he was holding a kitchen knife and walked up to me. Open the car door or not. Give me the cotton padded jacket. Last night, my father-in-law froze to death. Among hundreds of vehicles, almost all the dead were elderly. My father-in-law gave the only cotton-padded jacket he had to Darwin. He himself froze to death, and was buried in this unknown place. Darwin was not only about to freeze to death, but his spirit had already begun to collapse. With great force, he hacked the kitchen knife several times on the Land Rover. Darwin's eyes bloodshot with rage. Juno, hand me the padded jacket. Of my 2 crates of padded jackets, I kept 2 for myself along with a quilt, giving the rest to Darwin. I need to ensure my survival in the coming days. I have neither food nor water, and might even become a target for others to plunder. Darwin and a few of his friends can ensure my survival. It's now the 3rd day. There are some raised grave mounds by the roadside. Some were thrown directly into places buried under deep snow. No one looked back again. Darwin threw a tantrum, and Darwin and his friends pulled him away. Yet Darwin still stared at me. Juno, are you really this heartless, not even considering our marital bond? I closed my eyes, stroking the little orange cat in my arms. Juno, I won't let you get away with this. The temperature in the car was dropping too. It's too cold outside. Even the best car could stall suddenly. Darwin stuffed someone under the car to block the wind and snow. It can only be said to have a tiny effect. After the 3rd night arrived, not a single person in hundreds of cars was asleep. Many people's car windows were cracked by the freezing cold. Another person has died. Last round it was the elderly. This round it's children. Celeste's daughter couldn't escape either. Celeste stumbled towards me with a knife in hand. I happened to get out of the car to stretch my legs and gathered some firewood from the woods. Just as I placed it by the car, I heard the orange kitten's piercing cry, "Master." I only felt something glowing shoot straight towards me. With a clang, the kitchen knife stabbed directly into the glass. Celeste flew out and fell down. It was Darwin who turned around in time and kicked her. Meanwhile, I also paused slightly due to the orange kitten's hissing. The kitchen knife flew past my cheek. Celeste screamed like a madwoman. Juno, I'll kill you, you murderer, murderer. Why didn't you give me the cotton-padded jacket? Why, murderer. I was terrified too, because I had died before too. Celeste was forcibly escorted back to Darwin by 2 of Darwin's friends. They were very grateful to me. They all showed kindness towards me, but as I looked at the car window glass deeply scarred by the kitchen knife, my heart sank little by little. I don't know how many more days I have to endure. The little orange cat won't tell, but I have this strange feeling that my time is near. I always feel like I've died before. In this sealed-off area, my little orange cat witnessed my death. I will kill you. Celeste's voice kept echoing in my ears. The 3rd blizzard-swept frigid night has arrived. It is in adversity that people devise solutions. At night, you can always see people finding various ways to kindle fires. It's like bringing hope to people in despair. And human adaptability is remarkably strong. In just 3 days, people have already begun to adapt. They find ways to survive through the night, burn anything flammable, fortify the car with all possible protections, find ways to endure the freezing night. Now our car can no longer start at night either. I was bundled up from head to toe, with the little orange cat nestled in my arms. The interior of the Land Rover was packed with all sorts of things, blocking any cold air that could get in. The night was the coldest. It was also the hardest to endure. As the eastern dawn slowly rises, we welcome the fourth day in this place. Human adaptability is remarkable, as everyone finds ways to survive in the freezing snow. Even the conditions of a mini ice age cannot deter people's courage to keep living. Juno, my mother-in-law who detests me, came swaying towards me, wearing a cotton-padded jacket that was partially burnt after a night of exposure to the cold wind. I also needed to get off and stretch my legs, to warm myself up. Juno, I'll trade this with you for a cotton-padded jacket. She took out a bucket of instant noodles. I shook my head. I don't have any spare jackets left, but I do have one cotton glove. Deal, I'll take it. The elderly woman's lips were chapped. Her complexion looked terrible, as if she might collapse at any moment, but I shook my head. 1 cup of instant noodles isn't enough. I got 3 cups of instant noodles and a thermos flask. These oversized gloves were originally bought for Darwin, but he thought they looked too silly, so I ended up using them as a cushion for the little orange cat. The little orange cat was very unhappy watching me exchange its 2 large cushions for food, meowing loudly for quite a while. I melted accumulated snow in a lunchbox to make boiling water, then poured it into a thermos. I'm not sure if it's just my imagination. As I ate the steaming instant noodles, I felt exceptionally warm all over. It's like, the temperature is rising. I don't dare think too much. When the 5th day arrived, everyone noticed the snow mist was gradually dissipating. The view gradually widened, revealing dense forests in the distance and low rolling hills. The temperature began to rise slightly. The change in temperature gave people hope. Everyone cheered. Many young people are running through the deep snow, freely releasing their suppressed, panicked hearts. Although we are still trapped in this small glacial region, but we can finally see things beyond this area. It's a highway, someone shouted, though no one knew who. Everyone ran toward that spot like madmen. Unfortunately, gazing at distant mountains, no matter how fast I run, they remain far away. Just a slight rise in temperature gave us hope for survival, making us, who were accidentally stranded in this small glacial zone, believe we might live through this. The 5th night has arrived as well. The snow fog is noticeably less intense. The big guy's survival ability has grown stronger. Those who've survived this long will grit their teeth and persevere till the end. When the 6th day arrived, the snow mist had gradually dissipated. The blazing sun shone upon every inch of the land. The snow began to melt. We went through 5 terrifying days and nights. Everyone screamed, shouting for the warm sunlight that had appeared. The snow mist vanished, and the scenery surrounding us was gradually changing. The snow-covered world suddenly showed signs of green. Beneath our feet, we no longer tread on snow. Instead, it's the broad asphalt road. Those patches of green are trees standing on both sides of the road, one after another, row after row, with leaves covering the branches. Many people burst into tears, including me as well. Most of us got frostbite. All were hospitalized, including me. What moved me most was the moment we appeared on the highway. Seeing faces filled with anxiety and anticipation rushing toward us, there were also ambulances one after another, along with a large number of medical personnel. We thought people outside this small glacial zone wouldn't notice our disappearance or the anomalies here. In fact, they all knew. Everyone is missed by their loved ones, but the one who should appear never shows up. They always ask about the weather, and later, the phone can no longer be reached. It doesn't seem like the phone is off, but more like being trapped in a place with no signal. Such strange phenomena have attracted the attention of many people. They initiated actions to search for loved ones and rescue friends. They waited right where we lost contact. Finally, the wait is over. The moment we appeared, they ran towards us with all their might. According to expert research, we may have been transported to an alternate dimension for some inexplicable reason. Fortunately, this alternate dimension has time limits and governing rules. We can consider ourselves lucky. After we emerged, the bodies of those who died vanished along with that alternate dimension. When I was still in the hospital, Darwin and a few of his friends came to visit me. They expressed their gratitude to me multiple times, especially Darwin, who helped arrange a great job for me. As promised, I wanted to repay you. Given your family situation, you probably can't stay in this city. I found you a good job. 10. The reason Darwin could help me consider so much is because my ex-husband Darwin and Celeste have caused several scenes before. Darwin hopes to start over. As for Celeste, she always believed I was responsible for her daughter's death. All I know is, it's because she draped the thickest clothes all over herself. Her daughter was so young that she couldn't withstand the cold of the Little Ice Age's late-night temperatures at all. She froze to death. She needed someone to bear the blame, to alleviate her own guilt. This unintended disaster tested human nature. The good became better. The bad became an impossibility for life. Both the little orange cat and I survived during my hospitalization. It lay obediently by my pillow the whole time, gently snoring, basking in the warmest sunshine. I patted its little belly. "Thank you." The little orange cat immediately showed a smug little expression. "Master, I want extra food." "Okay, I want to eat canned fish every day." Sigh. "I knew you couldn't manage without me." Story 2. 3 days ago, my brother suddenly sent me a text message. "There are less than 72 hours before the city will be surrounded by zombies. From this moment on, don't open the door to anyone, including me." I followed his instructions and managed to survive by luck. But then I discovered an even more terrifying secret about my brother. 1. The first time I felt fear was 3 days ago. It all started when I received a threatening message from an unknown number. "I will come to your house and kill you." I wanted to call my brother and tell him about it, but his phone was always busy. At the same time, I received the messages from him. My brother is a bit of a science geek, and his whereabouts are very mysterious. He often says some incredible things, and I've long been used to it. I decided to go to the police station and report it. When I reached the first floor, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of 2 figures overlapping behind the side door, and there were intermittent moans of a woman coming from there. Pieces of clothing were constantly being thrown out. I felt embarrassed and wanted to look away, but in the next second, I suddenly heard the woman's movements stop. Instead, there was a sound like a wild beast gnawing on food. In the empty corridor, this sound was particularly clear. I held my breath and walked cautiously towards that direction. Next, I saw a female corpse with her neck bitten off, fixed to the wall. On her body, there was an extremely terrifying monster. The woman's head rolled out with a gurgling sound and stopped right at my feet. Her bloodshot eyes were still wide open, looking at me. I quickly covered my mouth to keep myself from screaming. From the back, all the hair on the top of the monster's head had fallen off, replaced by large patches of bluish-purple stuff that looked like moss. Its back was arched high, and its bright red nails were inserted into the woman's body, just like a huge turtle lying on a rock. A foul smell mixed with the smell of blood rushed towards me. Seeing that the monster was about to be full and turn around, I turned and ran. I didn't dare to wait for the elevator at all. I rushed up the stairs with all my might. I have a weak heart and can't be too shocked. I tried my best to calm myself down. Just as my steps were gradually becoming heavier and I was about to call the police, suddenly, a heavy arm rested on my shoulder. "Raven, where are you going so late?" The voice-activated light in the dark corridor came on, and I watched as a long shadow appeared behind me. The blood in my whole body seemed to flow backwards. The arm on my body was so heavy that it made me breathless. I didn't know what to do and desperately prayed in my heart for someone to come and save me. "What's going on? Why are you sweating so much?" I turned my head dully and found that it was actually my neighbor, Auntie Brielle. "Auntie Brielle, great, it's you, thank goodness." I finally let out a sigh of relief and thought about whether to tell her what I had just seen. Auntie Brielle also has a heart condition and has been taking medicine. I can't be too straightforward, but I have to get her to take it seriously. What happened just now was too terrifying. There was actually a monster in the residential building, and I had to call the police quickly. Just as I was about to take out my phone, I suddenly heard a sound of swallowing. Then came the second sound of swallowing. I slowly raised my head. I don't know if it was the problem with the light, but Auntie Brielle's face looked extremely pale. "Raven, come closer to Auntie. Let Auntie wipe the sweat off you." She reached out her hand to me. When her sleeve lifted, large patches of bluish-purple stuff like moss were revealed on her arm. She was the same as the monster that had been gnawing on the corpse just now. At the moment, she was stiffly turning her neck and staring straight at me, too. Auntie Brielle, I still have something to do, so I'll go first." My head was buzzing, and I quickly said this and started walking upstairs. There was still 1 floor left to my home. Every step I took, my legs felt as heavy as if they were filled with lead. 1, 2, 3, I counted silently in my heart. 4, 5, 6, I heard footsteps sounding synchronously behind me. She was following me. My knees almost gave way and I knelt to the ground. I didn't dare to accelerate rashly and tried to maintain a normal pace, but the person behind me was following very closely. As if they would pounce on me violently at any moment, I walked in fear like this. Suddenly, I felt the footsteps behind me disappear. I don't know if it was because of excessive nervousness, but I felt my scalp itch a bit. Taking this opportunity, I quickly reached the door of my home, took out my key, and turned the doorknob. But the moment the door opened, my pet dog, Coco, barked fiercely and pounced out. I was caught off guard and was knocked to the side and fell to the ground, just as I was about to curse angrily. A black shadow flashed before my eyes. It turned out that Auntie Brielle, who had suddenly disappeared just now, didn't really disappear. She was just hanging upside down on the ceiling and had been following me all the way. The strange feeling I had felt was actually her hanging hair, and just now, she had completely dropped down, right behind me. Her long nails were about to scratch my scalp. If it weren't for Coco knocking me away, I would already be a corpse. I watched as Coco pounced on that pale face that had dropped down. Auntie Brielle's mouth was wide open, and her teeth were bright red. Coco started fighting with her. I didn't have time to stop it. I watched helplessly as my Coco, the Coco that I had raised for 8 years, was directly bitten and torn at by her. Intense pain tore at me, but I had no other choice. I could only hide in my home as quickly as possible. There were heavy thumps outside the door, accompanied by hoarse roars. Auntie Brielle was pounding on the door insanely outside. I was in tears. Coco. I regretted it deeply. I had deliberately not given it the small cookies it loved the most before to make it lose weight. In fact, I had bought a lot, but it would never be able to eat them again. Just thinking that my former friendly neighbor had now turned into a zombie and wanted to kill me made my heart ache even more. I quickly found some medicine and swallowed it, and just then, I received the rest of my brother's messages. The zombie virus has spread rapidly among the population. According to incomplete statistics, 4/5 of the people in the city have already mutated or are carrying the virus. People infected with the zombie virus will have several times more physical strength than usual. Their intelligence remains at the level of an 8-year-old child. They can disguise themselves and lie. The brains of the infected people are completely controlled by the virus, and they can no longer be called human. I have stocked up enough food in my room for you to last a month. Hold on, and there will be a rescue. You must remember that from this moment on, keep the doors and windows tightly closed. Absolutely do not go out. No matter who knocks on the door, do not open it. Absolutely not. After reading the last text message, I completely broke down and burst into tears. Zombie virus factors were detected in my body an hour ago, after an hour of emergency surgery. I'm sorry, my dearest sister, your brother can no longer protect you, but your brother will always love you. I looked ahead through my blurred tears. The city was brightly lit at night, looking prosperous, but ear-piercing screams were constantly ringing out on the city radio, along with the sound of alarms and the hubbub of voices. A girl was being led across the road by her mother, but suddenly, the woman seemed to lose all her senses and crazily lifted her daughter and started biting her. 3. I had thought that the person who sent the text message saying they would kill me was the zombie Auntie Brielle, but 3 days later, my brother, who was clearly dead, suddenly appeared outside the window. Raven, open the window and let your brother in. My brother's twisted face was pressed against the window, and his eyes were wide open, shining with uncontrollable excitement. Aren't you the one who misses your brother the most? Didn't you say you had a lot to talk to your brother about? Let your brother in, and we siblings can have a good chat. No, you're not. I stumbled back 2 steps. Don't come any closer. What do you mean, not? His voice suddenly became sharp. Open the window for your brother quickly. Do you want to watch me die outside? Hurry up, you ungrateful thing. Open the window quickly. I could only shake my head desperately at him. But suddenly, his gaze fell behind me. Sister, what's that shadow in your bedroom? For, it's true, there's a figure sneaking behind your bedroom door. He's been peeking at you just now. My brother outside the window had his eyes wide open. Open the window quickly. Sister, your brother will go in and teach that bad guy a lesson for you. The once handsome face of my brother now showed the excited expression of a child. His skin was deathly pale, and there were faint black-purple blood vessels showing through it. I looked at this face with a hurt expression. God knows how much I wanted to let him in and hug him tightly, but my reason told me that my brother was already dead. The one outside the window was no longer him. Stop wasting your efforts. Lying to me is useless. I heartlessly found a large cloth and covered the window. Then I sat on the sofa and planned to play a game to distract myself. Games consume a lot of data. I turned on the Wi-Fi and was about to connect when suddenly, I saw an extremely unfamiliar hotspot in the wireless list, Wengiofi 520. It had full signal. My hand froze in midair. Besides my home's Wi-Fi, only this unfamiliar hotspot had a full signal. Even the neighbor next door, who was the closest to my home, only had 2 bars of signal. So, I thought of that threatening text message from 3 days ago again. I met Auntie Brielle in the corridor, and it was probably just a coincidence that she was chasing me. In fact, there really was an uninvited guest in my home. Just thinking that I might have been living with a stranger for several days made me shiver. God knows what that person would do after I fell asleep. At the moment, I was leaning against the sofa with my back to the bedroom, and my back was already soaked with sweat. The air was terrifyingly quiet. The ticking sound of the clock hands turning and the rumbling sound of the water dispenser heating up became louder. I wanted to use these sounds to cover up my movement of standing up and going to another room, but I ignored the fact that if I could think of this, someone else could too. In the next second, a pair of hands suddenly grabbed my neck from behind. I suddenly screamed and jumped up, and the person behind me seemed to be even more timid than me. His hands immediately withdrew. The boy was probably 15 or 16 years old. His lips were pale due to days of hunger, and his eyelids were drooping heavily, opening and closing intermittently. Only then did I see clearly that this was the little grandson of the grandma downstairs. Cassius, water. The boy seemed to be hallucinating. He opened his mouth, his eyelids rolled up, and he fell to the ground. I looked at the hungry teenager lying on the ground and thought again and again about whether to throw him out to feed my brother. After a few seconds, I resigned myself to picking up the water kettle and pouring him a glass of water. 5. Cassius woke up slowly. I kindly took out half of the food that my brother had stocked up for me and gave it to him, but I don't know if he was too hungry or what. He picked up Coco's dog food beside him and stuffed it into his mouth. Eat slowly. Considering that Grandma Madison had been very kind to me before, I didn't hold it against him for his attempt to harm me just now. Fortunately, my brother had bought me a large cabinet full of bread, milk, ham sausages, yogurt, steaks, compressed biscuits, and so on in advance. Otherwise, I would have felt a bit watching him eat. Cassius wolfed down the food. After a while, with his mouth full of dog food, he said, "I'm sorry, sister, I was really starving, just now." When I heard the sound of the water heater, I instinctively walked out. Then I mistook you for a steamed bun and wanted to take a bite. I'm really too hungry. When I smelled the aroma of meat in your house, I climbed in through the ventilation duct. I swallowed my anger with good grace. It's okay. Then what about your grandma? Do you want to take some food back for her? My grandma. Cassius stopped chewing. A confused look appeared in his eyes. After a while, he said sadly, "My grandma is missing. Just the day before yesterday, we had eaten all the food at home. She said she was going to the street to buy some vegetables. Later, I was so hungry that I couldn't stand it and fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already midnight, but my grandma still hadn't come back." Cassius earnestly took my hand. "Sister, I'm scared. You've seen the current situation. I really don't dare to go home alone. But I'm afraid that if my grandma comes home and doesn't see me, she'll go crazy. I beg you to accompany me home and take a look." Unable to resist the boy's repeated pleas, I agreed. Before going out, I secretly put a Swiss Army knife that my brother had brought home before into my pocket. 6. When we arrived at Cassius' home, a musty smell caused by poor ventilation hit us. There was also a faint fishy smell. The room was very dark. I took 2 steps inside, and then Cassius fumbled to turn on the light. As soon as the light came on, I saw that I was stepping on a patch of dark brown. There was a long stream of red flowing out from the refrigerator, which had already wound its way to the door of the bedroom. I turned my head and just happened to meet Cassius' expressionless face. When did he get so close to me? I'm sorry, my grandma is too thrifty. She always turns off the power switch, and that's how the things at home got broken." Cassius opened the refrigerator with a helpless look. Sure enough, there were some spoiled pieces of meat inside, and the blood that had flowed out had already solidified. After looking at it for a few times, I couldn't help but want to leave. "Grandma Madison probably hasn't come back yet. Let's go." "Wait a moment," Cassius suddenly said. "I'll pack some things, sister. Please wait for me a moment." After saying this, he turned and went into his room. The light in the living room was on, but it was still very dim. I didn't want to stay in this creepy scene any longer and instinctively entered a bedroom nearby. This bedroom was obviously where an old person lived. The windows were completely blocked by curtains, and the light was very dim. I groped along the wall for a long time but couldn't find the switch. It was too dark, so I took out my phone's flashlight to illuminate the area. The pale light swept across the wall, casting 2 distorted shadows on it. 2 corpses sealed with plastic were standing by the wall. There was a circle of black thread sewn around their necks, but their heads were still tilted. This meant that the deceased had been beheaded before their death. Didn't Cassius know? No. How could he not know? He had only been away from home for 2 days, but judging by the degree of the body's waxification, it must have been at least half a year. And one of them was an extremely short and hunched old person. It was Grandma Madison. I shuddered all over. At this moment, Cassius' eerie voice came from the living room. "Sister, where are you?" 7. There were footsteps coming from the living room. "Here, there's a bloody footprint." The suppressed laughter was almost enough to make one's blood vessels burst. The next second, the door was suddenly pushed open. I hid under the bed, covering my mouth tightly, and watched as those 2 calves moved back under Cassius' trouser legs. There were the all too familiar bluish-purple scars. He had already been infected by the virus. I never would have thought that the person who sent me the text message threatening to kill me was actually Cassius. A minute ago, I saw with my own eyes 2 corpses. One was Grandma Madison's, and the other was so severely waxified that I couldn't tell who it was, but both of them had been beheaded, and this was a common modus operandi of zombies. So, the zombie virus had already appeared half a year ago. "Cassius, you've hidden it so well." The Cassius at this moment was no longer the shy teenager who used to live downstairs from me. His brain had been completely gnawed away by the virus, and now he was just a zombie. I clenched the knife in my pocket. The person in the room seemed certain that I was hiding somewhere. He rummaged through things without getting tired of it and showed no sign of leaving at all. After searching for a while, he walked to the wall and asked the 2 silent corpses, "Grandma, have you seen Sister Raven?" After a moment of silence, he giggled. "Oh, I see." Sure enough, Cassius' steps were no longer messy. Suddenly, I felt my vision go dark in front of me. I looked up and found Cassius lying on the ground in an extremely twisted position, with his eyeballs almost popping out. A cold breath blew onto my face. "Sister, what are you doing lying here?" 8. I slowly crawled out from under the bed, taking him by surprise. I quickly took out the knife from my pocket and pressed it against the carotid artery on Cash's neck. It was the first time I had done such a thing, and I was extremely nervous. I tried my best to put on a fierce expression, but I couldn't bring myself to swing the knife down. "You're not Cassius anymore. What on earth do you want to do?" Cassius blinked slowly, looking confused. "You are a zombie." I forced myself to spit out these 4 burning words with great difficulty. And the person in front of me was still playing dumb. "Okay, I'll ask you, if x equals 1, then what is x?" Cassius tilted his head and looked at me in surprise. "What?" Looking at his completely confused expression, I finally made up my mind and quickly stabbed the knife in. "You're still lying to me. Zombies only have the intelligence of an 8-year-old. Cassius is already in his senior year of high school. The only one who can't solve equations is a zombie." I stumbled back 2 steps. Almost in awe of my own intelligence. The virus inherits all the memories of the host, but it can't inherit the host's logical thinking ability. But to my surprise, the person in front of me actually sneered. "Sister, this isn't how you kill a zombie." He pulled out the knife, and with a click, his neck snapped back. He grinned at me and charged straight at me. 9. I underestimated the strength of a 17-year-old zombie, which had been expanded 4 times. I was quickly subdued by him. But just as his sharp teeth were reaching towards me, his movement suddenly stopped. He turned his head slightly, as if he had received some kind of induction. I noticed that the corner of his mouth twitched distortedly. The next second, there was a loud crash outside. Before I could react, a black shadow had rushed in from the door and directly collided with Cassius. "Sister, your brother is here to save you." Cassius instinctively let go of me and started fighting with the brother who had pounced on him. Both of them had incredibly great strength. With just one palm, they could smash the other's chest. I scrambled to the door. "Sister, hurry up and help your brother. Your brother can't hold on anymore." Cassius had just been fed dog food by me, and my brother had been hungry for many days and was running out of strength. He had already been hit several times by the other party, and his internal organs were almost vomiting out. I looked at this tragic scene with pity and slipped out of the room. "I don't believe you at all. It's clearly a battle for food, isn't it? This zombie with the intelligence of an 8-year-old is really something. He's so obsessed with being my brother that he's even addicted to it." As I rushed into my home at the fastest speed, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a woman with long hair standing quietly in the corner of the staircase. She was wearing a red dress and looked like a ghost. Is this one also a zombie? For some reason, the moment I saw this woman, an unprecedented sense of fear, as if it came from the abyss, surrounded me. 10. I locked the doors and windows again, as well as the ventilation duct. I believe my brother's words. As long as I hold on, the capital will definitely succeed in rescuing us. 11. At 1 o'clock in the morning, my brother's face appeared outside again, but this time, the muscles on his face were even stiffer. His voice had also changed. "Sister, open the window." 12. I didn't move, because, from my perspective, my brother was fixed outside the window. Under his armpits, there were 2 bloody hands supporting him. I suddenly realized that, in fact, zombies could also be killed, as long as their bodies were eaten by another zombie. 13. In one corner of the glass, the figure of a woman with black hair and a red dress slowly emerged. I rubbed my eyes and finally confirmed that I wasn't seeing things, but if I could see her through the glass, it meant that the person was in my home at this moment. A cold sweat suddenly ran down my spine. "I will come to your house and kill you. Come to my house." At this moment, I finally truly understood the meaning of these words. The person who sent the text message wasn't Cassius, because that person definitely wanted me to die in my own home at this moment. The woman was standing motionless at the door of my brother's room. Her entire face was covered by her black hair, and the red of her clothes was clearly terrifying. All of a sudden, various horror movies I had watched before flashed through my mind. I seemed to be able to see the image of her reaching out her hand and charging towards me. I had never seen this woman before. Why did she want to kill me and insist on choosing my home? Suddenly, the electric light in the room made a strong current sound, flickering on and off. Zizz, zizz. The TV turned on automatically, and the screen was filled with snowflake-like fragments, as if a trapped person was roaring in pain. I instinctively trembled. When I slowly turned around with bated breath, I found that the girl standing at the door of the room behind me had disappeared, but the next moment, a pair of hands from above suddenly grabbed my shoulders and pressed me into the sofa, forcing me to look at the TV. The long red nails gently scraped against my face, and I couldn't move. A strong premonition told me that if I took my eyes off the TV for even a moment, the red nails would not hesitate to pierce into my eyes. The snowflake fragments gradually merged into a blurred image, and the image gradually became clear. I saw a missing person notice from half a year ago. Sophie, female, 16 years old. She was wearing a white short skirt when she went missing. She was 163 centimeters tall and weighed about 40 kilograms. The most distinctive feature was her eyes, which were amber eyes that could emit a blue light. On the screen, a middle-aged woman who was crying uncontrollably was throwing herself on the ground and crying, pleading with everyone to help her find her daughter. Looking at this missing person notice, every cell in my body was screaming at myself. Could it be? No. This is impossible. How could it be? Half a year ago, around the time the girl went missing. My brother had shown unprecedented excitement. That day, he stood by the window, and the sunlight was shining on his face. His expression was extremely gentle, which was rare for him. Raven, I met a girl with amber eyes. She's 1 in a million. Her eyes can actually emit the luster of the sky, amber eyes that could emit a blue light. Although I really didn't want to admit it, the reality was in front of me. The girl my brother met was the missing girl on the TV. I thought my brother had fallen in love at that time. Later, he really rarely came home and left early and came back late, not knowing what he was busy with, but I never expected that this girl had actually gone missing. Cassius, who was pretending to be my brother outside the window, had a very intense reaction when he heard the sound from the TV. He banged against the glass frantically. If the doors and windows hadn't been modified by my brother, I would really have been scared to tears. Your brother is a sinner. A faint voice slipped past my ear, and those hands suddenly disappeared. 14. Everything seemed to return to normal immediately. I immediately got up and ran to the bedroom and the ventilation duct. I had to escape from home, but just as I was halfway through the duct and almost touched the light, suddenly, a huge eye blocked my way ahead. It was a severely mutated zombie. Its body had expanded several times that of a normal person. Its cloudy eyes blocked my way, and there was a wild light shining in them. I thought something was wrong and wanted to turn back, but then I saw that right behind me, a girl with black hair and a red dress was crawling towards me at high speed, using both her hands and feet. I let out a scream, and the sound seemed to stimulate her. She crawled even faster, but she didn't notice the faintly trembling muscles on my lips. It was time. I grabbed the army knife in my pocket and jerked open the valve behind me. The ventilation duct that had been modified by my brother also had a passage that led directly to his bedroom. This was a game we used to play with great enthusiasm when we were children. After I slid into my brother's bedroom, I quickly closed the valve. At the same time, I rushed into my bedroom and sealed the duct. The female zombie had already rushed to the duct opening in my bedroom. I would have been finished if I had been just a little slower. Listening to the shrill cries coming from the duct, I patted my chest with lingering fear and decided to go to my brother's bedroom to sleep. I'm sorry, brother, although you always didn't let me into your room before and I promised, but now the situation is urgent. You wouldn't let your sister fall asleep listening to these noises, would you? I carried the quilt and went to his bedroom. I don't know why, but the temperature in my brother's room was so low. I curled up inside the quilt, but I still felt like I was in a glacier. There was no other way. I opened his cabinet, trying to find something to cover myself with. Quang, the moment the cabinet door opened, a touch of red showed up. There was a woman hidden inside. Her black hair covered her face, and her red dress was as red as blood. 15. I never would have thought that the woman would actually go back into the cabinet, but the woman didn't climb out. No, to be precise, she didn't make any movement at all. She was like a person in a deep sleep, motionless in the dark. I stood still for 2 seconds and then summoned up the courage to gently touch her. The woman fell straight out. It turned out to be my brother's mannequin. He sometimes had to study the human body structure when doing experiments. He had to disassemble it with his own hands, since he couldn't use a real person. He made a realistic mannequin to study, but this mannequin seemed somewhat familiar. I slowly used my hand to push aside the mannequin's hair. The next second, I collapsed to the ground. It was exactly the same. It was exactly the same as the photo on the missing person notice shown on the TV. On the collar of the mannequin, there was also a terrifying note pinned. An error occurred during the genetic research process. This person is now a half-zombie with complete will. She has escaped into the crowd and is very dangerous. If you see her, you must kill her. 16. A bolt of lightning split across the sky outside the window. Then, the sound of rumbling rain roared down in torrents. 17. On this night, I cracked my brother's computer password and opened the folder on the desktop named Secret. It was in this folder that I saw the unknown side of my most admired and beloved brother. The folder was filled with all kinds of photos and texts. Each photo recorded an extremely terrifying truth. My brother had been conducting illegal human experiments. I never would have thought that some of the models that he claimed were human organs and that he had been studying at home were actually real. At first, he obtained the consent of the patients' families and the patients themselves with a large sum of money. He moved the patients who were terminally ill and had only a few days to live to his laboratory to study their body tissues. All kinds of deformed human body pictures were displayed on the computer. Countless patients died in a state of being neither human nor ghost under his scalpel. He took photos of each of them and recorded them, and then moved on to the next one, and the girl named Sophie had indeed come into contact with him before her death. She was also his last experimental subject. The moment my brother saw her, he knew that this was the extremely rare gene he was looking for. My brother wrote in the computer, The moment I saw this girl, I was completely shocked. My world collapsed and was rebuilt. Heaven has treated me unjustly, but in the end, it has not been too harsh on me. I know that I will definitely succeed with her. This time, my brother did something bad. He illegally took this girl away, trapped her in the laboratory, and forced her to undergo hundreds of surgeries, but due to the high difficulty, his surgeries didn't seem to be going in the direction he had expected. My brother recorded one day, it seems to have failed. The injected medicine has caused the human body to mutate, and it seems to have turned her into a zombie. But the next day, he excitedly took hundreds of photos. God has answered my wish. Although things have exceeded my expectations, they have developed in a more ideal direction. As long as I can control the degree of zombification and make her a half zombie, then she will have an extremely strong physique, to a certain extent. She can reach the limit of human lifespan. Later, it seemed that something happened halfway through, and the equipment malfunctioned. The girl faked her death and escaped. Everything recorded in the folder came to an end at this point. I don't know how to express how I feel now. I can only desperately pray that this girl is safe and sound. My brother has committed too many sins, and this girl will definitely be okay. I closed the computer, breathing heavily, and my heart was aching. What broke me down the most was the cause of my brother's death. The reason he was infected with the zombie virus was that he had gone completely crazy in the end and injected the medicine into his own body. He was ruthless to others, and even more ruthless to himself. He injected hundreds of times the normal amount of the virus into his body, which greatly shortened his lifespan. He died in extreme pain before he died. He even tremblingly opened the computer and recorded his last feelings before death. My whole body feels like being crawled over by 10,000 ants. It's more painful than death, but I can barely endure it. My tears welled up and streamed down. He was crazy, truly crazy. In the past, my brother had always been my role model, my belief, and the greatest attachment I had to the world and all my hopes for beauty. But now, my world has completely collapsed. 18. My heart was hurting more and more severely. I gradually couldn't catch my breath, and my consciousness became blurred. When I woke up, I found myself tied to a piece of equipment. In front of me stood a woman in a red dress. At the woman's feet, there were many zombies kneeling like pets, and one of them was Cassius. The entire laboratory was extremely empty, but zombies were crawling all over the ceiling and corners. Their expressions were ferocious. Their appearances were terrifying. And they were waving their claws, just like wild beasts. Countless zombies let out hoarse growls from the depths of their throats, and in extremely twisted postures, they prostrated themselves at the woman's feet, constantly licking her skirt with their dark green tongues, and the woman remained motionless like a ghostly sculpture. Suddenly, I noticed that all the zombies had bluish-purple scars like moss all over their bodies, and when the wind blew aside the long hair on the woman's forehead, revealing a bit of the skin between her eyebrows, there was a bluish-purple tattoo flower. Suddenly, one of the yen zombies seemed to have a painful expression. It seemed that he had awakened something and opened his mouth to call out Mom. In an instant, the woman pounced and bit his neck. The little zombie let out a loud scream, but the woman bit down firmly. Finally, she staggered back to the distance, still with her long hair covering her face. And it was impossible to see the expression on her face. The connection between the little zombie's neck and head was almost broken, held together only by a thin tendon. There were 2 deep bite marks on the neck that exposed the bone. It was as if the teeth of some wild beast had been directly inserted. Soon, the zombie became numb again. He held up his swaying head and knelt down at the woman's feet, licking even more vigorously than the other zombies. I almost went crazy after witnessing all this, a large-scale scene of zombies infecting people. This woman was the mother body. It turned out that everything that happened in the city was related to her. It was her who turned everyone into zombies. She was the origin of the zombies. 19. I was angry, couldn't bear it, and was in pain, but I was the least qualified to hate, because this woman was caused by my brother. She was the escaped Sophie. 20. I finally understood why she wanted to kill me in my home, because it was in this home, in my brother's temporary laboratory, that he performed the first surgery on Sophie. You're awake. The woman finally spoke. I had never heard such a hoarse voice, like scratching on tin, almost spat out while choking. As soon as I opened my mouth, hundreds of zombies suddenly surrounded me. The foul-smelling liquid dripped from their mouths and landed on me. I was almost suffocating and shouted sorry until the woman's hand moved slightly, and those zombies slowly got off me. Is it terrifying? She asked in a low voice. I didn't know how to answer. You can't stand it just like this. Do you know that once, there was a girl who was defiled by an extremely disgusting man in the bushes? She was still conscious, but she was completely unable to cry for help and could only watch helplessly as the people passing by left one by one. That's because too much medicine was injected into her body, and she had no strength left after she escaped. Of course, I knew who this girl was. After a moment of silence, I murmured, I'm sorry. It's all my brother's fault. I apologize to you on his behalf. These words were very pale, but that was all I could say. My brother had indeed committed unforgivable sins, as his sister. It was only right for me to pay for his actions by being killed. I closed my eyes and waited for death to come. But the expected death didn't arrive. Instead, a sinister voice rang in my ears. On his behalf, haven't you noticed that all the patients your brother treated suffered from extremely severe congenital heart disease? Congenital heart disease. I suddenly opened my eyes. The woman's fingers were gesturing in front of my chest. Just like you, congenital heart disease that can't be cured by medicine. You can only live until you're 40 years old. What do you mean? I said in a trembling voice. The woman's nails had unknowingly pierced into my flesh, but I didn't feel the pain. The huge shock had made me numb, and I just wanted her to make things clear. Your brother did all this because of you. Countless bodies are buried underground here. Your brother kept changing the subjects and conducting countless experiments, until he met me with the most special genes. He found that I seemed even harder to kill. The woman stiffly turned her neck, and her long hair fell on my face. Do you know what I went through after I escaped? Why, every zombie decapitates the person they kill. That's because of me, the mother body. I was decapitated by that rapist. Thanks to the many medicines your brother injected into me, a zombie-like mutation occurred in my body. I survived. He forcibly turned me into this inhuman appearance with the zombie virus, and after I escaped, ha ha ha, the heavens have eyes, he himself was infected with the virus. You don't know how happy I was when I saw him outside the window just now. The woman's voice gradually became shrill. Finally, I clearly saw that she pushed aside the hair on her forehead, revealing her face that had been completely disfigured due to the mutation, deformed facial features, terrifying scars, and bulging eyes. There was no trace of the beautiful appearance of the girl I saw in the missing person notice. On that day half a year ago, I came to find Cassius and met your brother on the way. That was the beginning of my nightmare. He destroyed everything about me and made me bite and kill the person I loved the most in Cassius' grandma when the medicine took effect. I sealed their bodies with tape and stood them against the wall, just to remind me that I must never forget to take revenge. I wonder if you felt the same way as I did at that time, the same fear. I took a sharp breath. Cassius clearly didn't die. The woman looked at me and her fingers moved slightly. The Cassius mixed in the group of zombies was instantly lifted up by a thread. Then I noticed that there was a red thread tied around his neck, and as the woman's fingers lowered, Cassius crashed to the ground, and all his limbs scattered into pieces. It turned out to be a fake. The waxified and shriveled body of the young boy in front of the wall was completely unrecognizable. I had never imagined that the other body I saw in Grandma Madison's house was actually Cassius. It turned out that it had been her in my home all along. She had gone to great lengths to torture me until now and played tricks on me. It would be more straightforward for her to just kill me. I've been observing you for 3 days. You were very happy, and your brother was really good to you. She stroked my face affectionately and slowly climbed on top of me. Pressed tightly against such a terrifying face, I trembled and said, "Kill me, if you have the guts. Kill me, come on, kill me. I will kill you, but not in such a straightforward way to let you be free from suffering." The woman sneered and stuck out her tongue to slowly lick my face. "I want to turn you into a monster like me. I want you to stay conscious and watch how you live on in this inhuman and ghostly state. This is the greatest revenge on your brother, isn't it? Hee hee." A sharp pain hit me. I felt that my chest was cut open, and my heart was tightly grasped. I gradually lost consciousness. In the last second before I lost my consciousness, I softly said in my heart, "Brother, finally, we got what we wanted." 21. As my brother's closest relative, when I read the information on his computer, how could I not understand his intentions, and how could I not know what he had gone through? When my brother was still conscious, he had forced himself to go home to reinforce the house for me. In the ventilation duct, he found the mucus secreted by the zombie's body. He knew that smell all too well. Therefore, the final step of his plan was to turn me into a half-zombie like Sophie, with an independent will and a powerful body. Next, I saw a female corpse with her neck bitten off, fixed to the wall. On her body, there was an extremely terrifying monster. I just need to eat Coco's dog food. My heart can regenerate after it's completely destroyed by her, and I can finally break through the curse of a lifespan of only 40 years. When the rescue team finds me, the existing medical level can completely remove the toxins in my body. The only thing I need to endure is the pain when the medicine takes effect as recorded in my brother's computer. It feels like being scratched by 100 ants, more painful than death. But for me, it's already a gain. 22. The biggest secret of my brother is known only to me. He committed suicide out of guilt. He injected the zombie virus into his own body with his own hands. Before he died, he conducted the final test for me with his life. Story 2. When I received my mother's call, I was standing punished under the scorching sun by the instructor. "Run, run," came my mother's frantic screams through the phone. "In 2 hours, one of your instructors will turn into a zombie, and the whole school will be overrun." At first, I didn't believe it. It sounded too far-fetched, but my mother's trembling voice made me panic. Later, I learned that everything my mom said was true. She had fallen into a bizarre cycle of rebirth. She was reborn 2 hours before the zombie outbreak. After hanging up the phone, she transferred 100,000 yuan to me, instructing me to stock up on at least 2 months' worth of supplies within 2 hours and then lock the doors and windows and hide. Although my family was fairly well off, 100,000 yuan was not a small amount. My mother was serious. "You worthless thing." The instructor came over, fuming. "Did I tell you to stand here as punishment or to make phone calls? Of all the classes I've taught, I've never seen a student as undisciplined as you, so fond of making calls." "Ha, fine, continue standing. Don't think about leaving unless you complete the 2 hours." I knew he was targeting me, with so many in the class. Everyone would slack off when he wasn't looking, but he always singled me out for scolding. I've always been soft-hearted. I've been like this since I was little. My mom even took me to a psychologist to make me tougher, only to confirm that I had a people-pleasing personality. I always subconsciously tried to please others, neglecting myself. Whenever I was wronged, I would just endure it silently, but I didn't understand why. The more I behaved this way, the more I was targeted. The last time I was targeted was because someone in the neighboring class made a fool of themselves, and everyone laughed, including me. The instructor kicked me in the shin, demanding, "Who allowed you to laugh without reporting first?" Initially, I really didn't know what I had done to offend him, until I later saw my bullying roommate Scarlett getting close to him. Then I understood everything. I glanced at the time. It was exactly 2 p.m., seeing my expression. The instructor kicked my shin as usual, his tone more malicious. "Try looking around again, stand properly." Under the shade of a tree, Scarlett and a few other classmates were eating ice cream, eagerly watching the scene with grins, but no one expected that this time, after taking a deep breath, I didn't just swallow the insult. Instead, I kicked back, causing the instructor to howl in pain as he clutched his ankle and hopped around. "Stupid instructor, I'm done playing with you." After leaving those words behind, I didn't waste any more time and ran off as if my life depended on it. Scarlett rushed up, supporting the instructor, glaring at my retreating figure and yelling, "Evelyn, how dare you hit the instructor? You must be crazy. See if you ever come back to us, or you're dead. I'm telling you, who cares? In 2 hours, it's questionable whether anyone here will still be alive." Without turning back, I was frantically planning in my mind, with only 2 hours. I definitely couldn't go back to the dorm. Out of 6 people, 5 were bullying and isolating me. Luckily, because of the bullying, I had been looking for a rental since the second day of military training and had just found a suitable apartment not far from the university yesterday. It was a loft on the 13th floor, 2 stories high, with a monthly rent of 1,500, which I had rented for a semester. I never thought it would come in so handy. Being on the 13th floor might make moving supplies a bit challenging, as going up and down could waste some time. Every second now was crucial for survival. I couldn't help but breathe faster as I walked and took out my phone. No matter, I decided to first place some orders on a delivery app. I was cautious about ordering too much, fearing it might draw attention, since the apartment building had only one main entrance with security always present. Frequently moving a lot of supplies might be too conspicuous, especially since I would be spending the coming days alone. With these thoughts in mind, I judiciously ordered some vegetables, eggs, and meat. Actually, I'm not good at cooking and I don't really have a sense of measurements. I just randomly pick out items. The vegetables cost me over 300, and various meats almost 600, though I can't cook. I still buy the groceries, as having supplies gives a sense of security. I ordered a whole box of cold medicine, anti-inflammatory drugs, bandages, and iodine online. While placing these online orders, I rushed into the campus supermarket and emptied the shelves of all the ready-to-eat foods, grabbing about 50 packets of instant noodles and 50 other quick meals until my basket was full. I glanced around and my eyes landed on some suitcases for sale, unusually for me. I didn't even check the prices before picking up 2 of the largest suitcases and heading to the checkout to continue filling them with more supplies. I managed to pack about a month's worth of ready-to-eat food and about 30 bottles of 1.5-liter water into one suitcase. These items are essentials, and I had to drag them back to my apartment no matter what, as they would be my sustenance for the next 2 months. Seeing the mountain of instant food at the checkout, the cashier blinked and asked, "Are you taking all these?" My heart pounded and sweat covered my forehead as I nodded. "Please hurry up with the checkout, I'm in a rush." Although I said that, the cashier was scanning each item slowly. Just then, the supermarket door opened and a group of girls walked in chatting. "Does applying ice water really help?" "Of course it does. Didn't you see how swollen the instructor's ankle was?" Evelyn really kicked hard. That was quite vicious. Suddenly, they stopped and all turned to look at me at the checkout. Scarlett squinted her eyes. "Evelyn." I ignored her, focusing on packing my instant noodles, a large bag of steamed buns, and chili sauce into the suitcase. Checking the time, it was already 2:20 p.m., and I could still make at least 2 more trips with these large suitcases. But here, in less than 100 minutes, this place would become a living hell. Scarlett walked up with her arms crossed, sneering at the convenience food. Where are you fleeing to with all this? $2.50 per packet for the noodles. Buying so many, it made sense, though. $2.50 wouldn't even buy a dish in the school cafeteria, but it could buy enough noodles to fill you up. How pathetic. Seeing that I ignored her, I carefully packed the food and zipped up the suitcase. My roommates, seeing this, mocked. Some people probably have never eaten anything good in their lives, treating these things like treasures. It's quite pitiful to see. But inside, I scoffed lightly. Laugh all you want, even louder. You won't believe that in a month, you'll be fighting bloody battles and kneeling for these very cheap foods. Part 2. When I reached the apartment entrance with the 2 large suitcases at 2:40 p.m., it was just my luck that both elevators were stuck on higher floors and not moving. Suddenly, a voice from behind startled me. Why are you dragging such big luggage by yourself? I jumped and turned around to see a bald man in his 50s. He was dressed in a security uniform, not very tall, with dark skin, and kept sizing me up with his hands behind his back. His eyes were small but sharp, squinting slightly as he casually asked, "Young lady, what have you got in there? Need any help?" "I just moved here with some clothes and daily necessities," I said, shifting my suitcase to the side. "No need, I can manage on my own, fortunately." The elevator arrived just in time, and I hurriedly dragged my luggage inside, only to find that the elderly security guard had followed me in. In the cramped space of the elevator, I could feel his gaze fixed intently on me from behind. I turned to him. "Which floor are you going to?" He waved his hand dismissively. "Don't mind me." I fell silent and pressed the elevator button. I was renting an apartment on the 13th floor. But to be cautious, I pressed the button for the 10th floor first. After reaching the 10th floor, I stepped out with my suitcase and made sure the old man didn't follow. Then, I switched to another elevator to reach the 13th floor. As soon as I unlocked the door and entered, I dumped everything out of my suitcase. Coincidentally, the food delivery arrived at that moment, and the entrance was cluttered with packages of various sizes. I didn't bother to tidy up. I just closed the suitcase and continued to bring supplies from the convenience store at the entrance of the apartment. After 2 more trips and checking the time, there were only 25 minutes left until the zombie outbreak. I could have made another trip, but I didn't want to take the risk. Looking at the pile of supplies that had amassed into a small mountain, I decided it was enough. These supplies would last a girl like me not just 2 months, but even half a year. Rice, flour, and oil. Each in a large container. I had stocked up 100 packs of instant noodles, even in different flavors, 20 self-heating hot pots, 15 bags of hot and sour noodles, and 10 packs each of dumplings and wontons. In addition, there were various snacks like sausages and chips. For drinks, not only did I have mineral water, but I also stocked up on large bottles of iced tea, cola, and Sprite, each in 1-liter sizes. Vegetables and meats filled the refrigerator. I had stocked up 3 months' worth of feminine hygiene products. Just to be safe, I got 5 chargers and 10 power banks. Having watched some disaster movies, I knew zombies were particularly sensitive to noise. I had lost an earphone, so I made sure to buy 2 more at the convenience store. Everything was ready. I double-locked the door and barricaded it with the coffee table from the living room. Then, I turned off the living room lights and drew the curtains. Collapsing exhaustedly on the sofa, looking at my supplies, I couldn't help but feel a liberating sense of surviving a catastrophe. During this time, my mom had sent several voice messages that I hadn't answered. Now, I finally had time to respond to her on Instagram. I learned that my parents had also prepared their supplies and secured their home, quietly waiting for 3 o'clock to arrive. Although we were in different cities and couldn't be together, knowing that we were each in a safe and well-supplied environment brought me some peace of mind. I chatted with my parents in our family group, lifting the curtains slightly to peek outside. From my 13th floor apartment, I could see the school playground where students were dispersing, laughing and chatting, oblivious to the impending nightmare. I closed the family chat and glanced at my class group, only to discover that I had unwittingly become notorious. From the school forum to social media and confession walls, there was a flood of criticism and spam about me. Although the posts were anonymous, I knew all too well that Scarlett was behind them. From the first day of room assignments at the start of the school year, she had been like a nightmare to me. Scarlett, with her stunning looks, was declared the class beauty just a week into military training, her arrogance deeply ingrained. She thought my quietness was a psychological defect and started off by making fun of me, which only escalated over time. The incident that struck me most was one time in the cafeteria when she saw me meticulously cleaning my plate with every spoonful. She scoffed and said, "My goodness, you ate so cleanly that the plate doesn't even need washing. No wonder you're as fat as a pig." Seriously, if I were as fat as you, I'd rather die. Am I really fat? I'm 165 centimeters tall and weigh 105 pounds. While I'm not exactly skinny, calling me as fat as a pig is a bit much. I really don't understand Scarlett and her friends, who seem to take pride in not finishing their food and wasting as much as possible. In the past, my people-pleasing personality always made me tolerate her sarcasm, and I was subconsciously afraid of ruining relationships with others. But now, suddenly, a scream from downstairs interrupted my thoughts. I looked out and saw chaos on the school playground. Everyone was screaming and running away, some with their heads tilted at odd angles, growling and roaring strangely. Looking at the time, the minute hand was pointed right at 3:50. What's going on? Could the zombie outbreak have started early? I broke out in a cold sweat. Thankfully, I hadn't been greedy for more supplies. If I had gone downstairs at 3:35 to move a third batch of supplies, whether I could have come back unscathed would be questionable. The bedroom, with the curtains drawn, was somewhat dim. The quiet around me starkly contrasted with the panic and fleeing downstairs. The spread of the zombies was much faster than I had anticipated. The streets were already filled with many infected people, their necks crooked, faces deathly pale, bodies covered in blood, seemingly oblivious to pain, mindlessly attacking and biting, their numbers growing, even though I had mentally prepared myself. The gore was still unsettling. I quietly closed the curtains and grabbed a bottle of milk tea, taking a few sips to calm my nerves. Soon after, running and screaming could also be heard in the apartment corridor. I looked at my securely locked door and the coffee table barricading it, knowing that as long as I stayed silent and didn't open the door, I wouldn't attract the zombies. But the screams outside were heart-wrenching. "Open the door, please open it." The voice sounded like a girl about my age. Probably another student who lived off campus. "Dylan, I know you're in there. I just went out to buy some things. The zombies hadn't caught up when I came up. Please, just crack the door open and let me in. I'm begging you. Didn't you say you loved me? Didn't you promise just yesterday that we would get married after graduation? Please open the door, please." The girl's cries of despair sounded especially bleak in these chaotic times. I sighed, sensing that this was a couple. The girl had gone out to buy something, and the guy had locked the door after discovering the zombie outbreak. I felt a pang of sympathy. My inherently soft nature and my people-pleasing personality made me hesitate about whether to open a door of life for this girl. Just as she said, the zombies hadn't spread to this floor yet. If I wanted to, opening the door in front of me would be her lifeline. Just then, my phone screen lit up, and I saw a message from my mom. "Do not open the door." I was shocked. Had my mom been watching through the camera? Otherwise, how would she know I was hesitating to open the door for that helpless girl outside? My mom knew I had always been kind-hearted and easily bullied, but you must know, human hearts are far more terrifying than you think, and in times of chaos, there is no room for kindness. You think that girl outside is pitiful, right? You believe in empathy, but you don't know that in the end, to save herself, that girl might push you into a horde of zombies. My daughter, that's how you could end up dying. Reading this, my forehead was covered in a dense sweat, and I froze, unable to move. A chill crept up inside me. The very next second, without any hesitation, I retreated back into my bedroom, plugging headphones into my phone. I stuffed one into my ear, pulled the covers over my head, and started watching Crayon Shin-chan. The outside screams and cries for help no longer had anything to do with me. All I wanted now was to ensure my own safety and eventually reunite with my family unharmed, just as I had speculated. As long as I had sufficient supplies, kept the curtains tightly closed, and made no noise, the zombies would not discover me, much less find me here. I spent the first day safe and sound, regularly sharing updates and emotions with my parents in our family chat, encouraging each other with the goal of eventually reuniting safely. My phone also began to push some news designed to calm the public. "The nation will not abandon any of its people who are fleeing. Please trust in our country. Light will surely come," though I didn't know when. Receiving such news made my heart settle somewhat. The fourth day of the zombie outbreak, the streets were a gray haze, roamed by a horde of the walking dead. Not a single living person was in sight, and the whole city had fallen into a deathly silence. Many people had run out of supplies. Numerous drones randomly dropped food from the sky, each landing attracting countless zombies who roared and bared their teeth, but who would dare to actually go out and pick up supplies? Some, unable to withstand hunger, crept out stealthily to gather food from the streets, only to be carelessly overwhelmed by hundreds of zombies, ending up not just infected, but nearly annihilated. I feared that in a few days the internet would cut out. Even electricity might fail. So I charged up 10 power banks and downloaded some movies, just in case I really had to face the hardship of passing time without the internet. A week into the zombie outbreak, my supplies were still plentiful, providing me the greatest sense of security. In the afternoon, I received a message in a group chat. Opening it, it was surprisingly from my dorm group. Someone had tagged me asking, "Are you still there, Scarlett? Where are you hiding? Haven't seen you back at the dorm. Do you still have food?" I briefly scanned the message, then tossed my phone aside, not planning on replying. About 40 minutes later, the phone screen lit up again with several more tags from the same person. "Scarlett, Scarlett," pretending not to see. Speak up, Scarlett. I know you have food. I saw you at the school supermarket right before the outbreak. You were stocking up 2 whole suitcases of food. Scarlett, don't play dead. Sharing some food with us won't kill you, will it?" Evelyn, it's not good to be so selfish. Do you know how many days it's been since we last had anything to eat? Yes, I knew. It was impossible for the dorm to have much in the way of supplies. I guess Scarlett and the others were probably eating leftover food from a few days ago, or some snacks they usually bought. No, after 7 days, with 5 people in the dorm, they had likely run out. Ironically, I had planned to travel to the Great Northwest with my parents on October 1st. So I had purchased a drone early, intending to capture the beautiful landscapes from above. The drone had arrived less than a week ago, and I hadn't even unpacked it yet. It was just sitting on the coffee table. If I wanted, I could easily attach some lightweight food to the drone and, taking advantage of the cover of darkness and the zombies' impaired vision, send some food to Scarlett and the others. If I were still the person I used to be, I would have done everything possible to help them. But now, after just a few days of apocalypse, having witnessed the coldness of human nature, I suddenly saw things differently. I used to think I was just a naive and gullible person, the epitome of a saintly martyr. Scarlett took advantage of my soft nature and bullied me for so long. If she came to me now begging for food, I might still consider it. But now, what is she even trying to pull? I took out a piece of bread, bit into it, and snapped a photo, which I posted in the group chat with the caption, "Delicious." Yes, that was intentional. Soon after, Scarlett and the others exploded. "Scarlett, we're all in the dorm right now. Hurry up and bring your food over so we can meet up." I replied with just one word. "No." "Scarlett, what did you say?" "Say that again." "Evelyn, I'm telling you to bring your food and meet up with us now." Immediately, seeing that I wasn't replying anymore, the other roommates started changing their tune from supporting Scarlett to speaking more kindly. "Evelyn, we don't mean anything by it, but it's not safe for you to be outside alone with the zombies around. Yeah, come meet up with us. If there's any trouble, we can face it together." I just listened at the door. "There are no zombies near our dorm. Evelyn, come quickly. There's strength in numbers." "Scarlett, enough. Can you guys have a little dignity? Didn't we survive just fine those days we dieted and didn't eat for a week? What difference does it make whether she's with us or not?" "Evelyn, don't think you're something special just because you have some food. I don't care about that now. Truly, you're giving yourself too much credit. It serves you right to have no friends." I scoffed coldly, not angry, and didn't reply. Instead, I just set the group chat to do not disturb and turned off my phone screen. As night fell, zombies, whose vision is poor, move much slower. I've gotten used to not turning on the lights or drawing the curtains at night, only occasionally peeking through the gaps in the curtains to look at the outside world. Thankfully, there's still internet. Chatting daily with my parents to confirm our safety is what sustains me. Not feeling hungry in the evening, I grabbed a Coke and chatted with my parents in our family group chat. Casually bringing up the dorm situation, Mom asked, "Do you have drones there? Are you going to send them food?" I thought for a moment. "No." Mom sent a happy emoji. "That's my girl, changing for the better. You shouldn't. Remember that one time when you sent them supplies and ended up attracting zombies to the apartment?" Honestly, I'm still not fully adjusted to my mom's idea of me having reincarnated multiple times due to my overly altruistic nature. It's the 8th day since the apocalypse began. Books say people can survive a week without food at most. Beyond that, it's dangerous. Scarlett, who was so arrogant in the chat yesterday, has now toned down her arrogance significantly due to hunger. Such a proud person, now begging me desperately for a bite to eat. Where are you hiding? If it's close to the dorm, we can send someone to get the food. Evelyn, I know I've been too much in the past. Please don't stoop to my level, okay? Just give us 5 packs of instant noodles. No, 3 will do. I'm begging you. All right, if you're still upset, I'll kneel down and beg. We're really going to starve to death. We're all classmates. Do you really want to watch us die? I was wrong. It was all my fault. You can curse me, insult me, return all the hurt I caused you, just as long as you give me something to eat. Evelyn, please, I really can't take it anymore." Seeing these messages from Scarlett, I stood up and pulled a packet of instant noodles from the living room. Turning around, I walked into the kitchen to boil some water for the noodles. While waiting for the water to boil, I decisively left the dormitory group chat without any hesitation. Day 9 of the zombie outbreak, my worst fear finally came true. The internet went down, and there was a complete loss of water and power. Although losing water and power was manageable, since I had stored enough drinking water and filled every bucket with tap water. For electricity, I didn't have time to buy solar panels. I could only prepare as many fully charged power banks as possible, but the real problem was the loss of internet connection. I couldn't receive any news from the outside world nor chat daily with my parents to keep their spirits up. The fear of being disconnected from the world suddenly felt more terrifying than the zombies outside, but what could I do? I had to keep my spirits up. My mom said that the zombie situation would be under control in 2 months, and it had been nearly 10 days already. I had downloaded plenty of videos to keep myself entertained, but with only 10 power banks, I allowed myself just 2 hours of phone time each day, mostly. I would just watch pre-downloaded episodes of Crayon Shin-chan or read novels. The rest of the time, I drifted around the house like a ghost with nothing to do. On one of these aimless days, I noticed an old calligraphy book I had used to prop up a table leg. I pulled it out and seriously practiced writing a couple of pages. Day 12 of the outbreak. I wished I could be with my parents right now. Being confined at home with them would surely be much happier than being alone. Staying alive and reuniting with my parents became my sole focus. These past few days without internet and power, I was nearly going insane. If not for the still moving hands on my watch, I would have lost all sense of time. The biggest activity now was, by nightfall, to peek through the curtains to see outside. It had been nearly 2 weeks since the outbreak began. People's initial fear of zombies had gradually turned into daring ventures out in small groups to scavenge for supplies. Some agile individuals could even manage a few zombies, then quickly escape. Like now, I saw a man in his 30s, tall and sturdy, with a bandage on his arm, hiding behind an SUV, cautiously surveying the zombies ahead. Terrifyingly, a zombie was quietly standing by a pillar right behind him, only about 10 meters away. I covered my mouth, internally screaming, "Turn around, look, there's a zombie right behind you. Run!" Finally, in the quiet of the night, a scream of terror came from downstairs. From behind the curtains of my 13th floor window, I watched the man desperately fighting the zombie, feeling somewhat dazed. The thrill was similar to the first time I watched a zombie movie, but now, the feelings were entirely different. It was like the stories from the movies had leapt into reality, and it was far more intense and terrifying. Who would risk going out unless absolutely necessary because of hunger? I sighed and quietly closed the curtains. Day 16 of the outbreak. Today, the weather was exceptionally good. The long-lost sunlight made the city look particularly bright. If not for the empty streets and the debris everywhere, I might have thought that the recent days were just a nightmare. It was mid-September now, and the temperature was starting to drop. I felt somewhat relieved that the zombie outbreak didn't happen during the peak of summer. As someone who can't stand the heat and relies on air conditioning, I would have probably been miserable, as usual. After dark, I sat by the bay window, this time a bit bolder, opening the window slightly to let in some fresh air. My apartment on the 13th floor felt safe, and perhaps it was just my perception, but it seemed like the zombies were starting to move away from this area, much fewer than in the first 3 days of the outbreak, but occasionally, my gaze would sweep over the empty streets. Seeing a zombie suddenly popping out from nowhere is still a startling experience. As I was staring out the window, lost in thought, I suddenly noticed a drone flying straight towards me. This really took me by surprise, and instinctively, I thought about closing the window, until I saw a girl about my age carefully waving at me from the building across, signaling me to bring the drone inside. I then noticed a note attached to the drone, with a strangely rapid heartbeat. I opened the window, peeled the note off the drone, and quickly closed the curtains like a thief before I began to read it. Elegant handwriting came into view. "Hello, I'm your neighbor from across, living on the 15th floor. You live alone, right? Without the internet, I'm about to go crazy." At first, I thought it was my imagination seeing the curtains move in the 13th floor apartment across at night, but to find there's actually someone there made me so happy. Can we be friends? My name is Abigail. What's yours? This is my first time communicating with someone in this way, in such a context, through writing, but I must admit, I'm both excited and happy. After all, this is my first contact with someone other than myself since the internet went down. Immediately, I rushed to my desk, tore off a piece of paper, and quickly wrote back to the girl, "My name is Evelyn, and I'm a freshman." Over the following days, Abigail and I kept exchanging notes, gradually. What started as a few lines turned into full-page conversations. We talked about everything from celebrity gossip to academic topics, and even got to know each other's romantic histories quite well. I told her I've been perennially single, a forever alone type, and Abigail responded, "Then it's meant to be that we become best buddies," as single folks seem to attract each other. Through these days of communicating by notes, I learned Abigail is also a freshman and, to my surprise, she's also majoring in photography. I'm in Section 1. And she's in Section 2. This incredible coincidence brought us even closer, and we've agreed that if we get through this, on the day the zombie outbreak is finally under control, we'll rent a place together and talk all night in person. I'm really curious how Abigail also managed to stock up so much beforehand. She started hoarding a week in advance, and from her description, except for her sleeping area, her place is filled with supplies, leaving just a narrow passage to walk through. I was impressed and asked how she thought to stock up so much in advance. "Abigail, what if I told you I was reborn? Would you believe me?" Reading this line from Abigail, no exaggeration, gave me goosebumps, feeling how mysterious fate can be. Abigail then asked, "Do you have enough supplies? If you're running low on food, let me know, and I'll send some over with the drone." "Evelyn, we will definitely make it until we see the light of day again, and then we'll be best friends, best friends." It's truly a beautiful word. This is probably the first time since the apocalypse began that I've felt warmth from someone other than my parents. In these times, when supplies are so precious, I felt truly happy knowing Abigail was willing to share hers with me. It's been 30 days since the zombie outbreak. Tonight, the moonlight is gentle. Abigail and I cleverly used drones to tie long strings between our windows so that even if the drones run out of power, we can still send notes by pulling the strings. In the bright moonlight, I lay on the windowsill and slowly wrote on a clean sheet of paper, Abigail, I miss my mom and dad. Today, like any other day, I woke up feeling a bit dizzy. It's already October. I shivered from the cold. A sense of dread washed over me, prompting me to go downstairs to the living room where I dug out a thermometer to check my temperature. It read 39.9 degrees Celsius. I rarely ever had such a high fever, and to have one during these chaotic times was particularly alarming. Fortunately, I had some fever-reducing medicine prepared in advance and quickly took a dose. With no appetite for food, I drank some water and then moved to the windowsill. Exchanging notes with Abigail had become a daily routine. I wrote her a note saying I was feeling unwell and might need extra sleep before heading back upstairs to my bedroom. I put on more clothes, even my winter down jacket, and crawled under a thick blanket to get some more rest. When I woke up again, it was already dark. I was drenched in sweat and felt no better, rather more weakened. I fumbled for the thermometer and checked again. Now it was nearly 40 degrees. Terrified, I increased the dosage of my medicine. The fever waxed and waned for nearly 3 days before finally showing signs of improvement. Today, the fever had subsided, but I was still left with a stuffy nose and a sore throat after taking my medicine. I finally felt well enough to approach the windowsill. Lifting a corner of the curtain, I saw a pile of notes stacked up at the door, almost forming a small mountain. I quickly opened the window to bring the notes inside and discovered they were all from Abigail, expressing her concern. Looking up, I saw Abigail at her windowsill. She immediately passed me a note she had just written. Are you feeling better? I've been by this window for 3 days. You finally showed up. I almost thought the zombies had gotten you. I was astonished to learn that Abigail had been there all this time for me. Feeling both guilty and touched, I quickly wrote back, my fever has gone down, and I'm feeling much better now. Sorry to have worried you these past few days. It's good you're okay. By the way, did you hear what they were announcing on the loudspeakers? I replied, confused. What loudspeaker? Perhaps due to my weakened state, I had been completely out of the loop. Abigail explained, a few days ago, the school's loudspeaker announced that survivors could head to a base near the high-speed train station. If they pass the checks at the entrance confirming they are not infected, they can enter. The base is said to be safe and even provides daily meals and internet access. Do you want to go? The high-speed train station, that's nearly half an hour's drive from here. We had no transport, and with enough supplies, it seemed wiser to stay put in our own home. As long as we didn't venture out, we wouldn't attract zombies. After sharing my thoughts with Abigail, she agreed, and we both decided to stay where we were. Clearly, other survivors were getting restless. Normally, people might stock up on supplies, but it had been almost 30 days. Rather than passively waiting to die, they seemed ready to take a chance. I had seen many trying to escape by car under the cover of darkness. Some were lucky enough to get away smoothly, while others were spotted by zombies before they could even get in the car and returned on the spot. Day 60 of the zombie outbreak. It had been over a month since I last contacted my parents. I wondered how they were doing. This fear of the unknown always seemed to magnify at night. Why, if it's been 2 months already. Initially, my mother told me that the zombie situation would be under control after 2 months, but now, I see no such possibility of improvement. Could it be that the storyline of this life has changed? It's not impossible, especially since the zombie outbreak started 10 minutes earlier this time around. Where does the end truly lie? Day 90 of the zombie outbreak. 3 months have flown by. I still have plenty of supplies, having consumed only about half. However, I had only stockpiled 3 months' worth of sanitary pads for women. Fortunately, Abigail generously sent me several large bags using a drone. I sent back several bags of Hidalgo tomato beef vermicelli to Abigail. She mentioned that she had casually picked this flavor and didn't expect it to be so delicious. Now that she has finished them, she craves more. Coincidentally, I also love this flavor. I had 3 boxes left at home and gave her 2, keeping one for myself. It's hard to imagine that Abigail and I could become such close friends in these apocalyptic times. Syncing up everything from unspoken understandings to tastes and fundamental beliefs. Day 100 of the zombie outbreak. The weather has turned chilly, and it's already mid-November. Almost a semester has passed, and it's hard to believe that our survival from the apocalypse started during our school's military training. Time has been tough but has unexpectedly flown by. The evenings have grown increasingly silent around here, making me wonder how many others, besides Abigail and me, have survived in these buildings. The streets are desolate, with autumn winds swirling fallen leaves, and even zombies have become a rare sight. Day 120 of the zombie outbreak. Today, I made a significant discovery. I saw some men in camouflage uniforms, some even in tanks and armored vehicles, eliminating many wandering zombies downstairs. Maybe it's because I was so moved, but seeing them reminded me of a saying online: there will always be someone who will carry the burden for you. For some reason, seeing those in camouflage infused me with strength, and I started to believe more than ever that the day we see the light again is drawing nearer. Day 150 of the zombie outbreak. The new year is fast approaching, and this is no illusion. There truly are fewer zombies now. But the day of complete eradication has not yet arrived. Police officers, now seemingly unafraid of zombies, patrol the streets, holsters at their waists. Abigail had prepared a radio before the apocalypse, and occasionally, we catch news from the outside. I've heard that a vaccine is now in development, and lifting the lockdown finally seems hopeful. Occasionally, pedestrians wrapped in thick clothes survey their surroundings cautiously before stepping out, only to be quickly sent back by the police if they encounter zombies. They are dealt with swiftly. One evening, someone gently knocked on my door, startling me like a frightened rabbit. I turned sharply towards the tightly closed door. Just then, a voice at the doorway whispered, "Honey, it's us." I could hardly believe my ears. I scrambled to the door, my voice trembling as I called out, "Mom, Dad." Indeed, it was my parents. I frantically moved the coffee table aside and flung the door open. Greeting me were two faces, aged and worn but incredibly familiar. I burst into tears. After letting my parents in, I held them and cried for a long time, unwilling to let go. All my pretenses fell away in front of them, leaving only the deepest trust and reassurance. My mother was crying too, continually patting my shoulder and examining me. "Let me look at you. Not bad at all. You look a bit chubbier than the last time I saw you. It seems our daughter hasn't gone hungry these past few months." My father also wiped away tears but teased, patting my head. All right, such a big kid and still crying so much." After sitting down on the sofa, I looked at my parents' white-tinged hair, my voice choked up. "Mom, Dad, you've both lost weight." Both had noticeably thinned down. What on earth had happened? "My dear, it's not important. What matters is that we've made it through, and now our family is finally together." I refused to let my parents dismiss the situation with just a few sentences, insisting that they tell me the truth. It turned out that a few hours before the zombie outbreak, my parents had already boarded a high-speed train to my city. 10 minutes after the train stopped, the zombie outbreak began on a large scale. I couldn't help covering my mouth in shock. "So, you mean to say, you arrived in my city before the outbreak, and you've been living here all these months?" They had previously lied to me, saying they had stockpiled plenty of supplies back home and were living comfortably, at first. Your mom and I were in despair, but after your mom went through several cycles of revival, waking up on the train each time, we resigned ourselves to our fate. It didn't matter what happened to us, as long as you had the chance to prepare and hide supplies 2 months in advance. So, that's why didn't you tell me the truth from the start? Where have you been hiding these months, my child? If we had told you the reality, would you have been able to stay calm? Could you have carried on peacefully these days? Actually, it wasn't much. Right after we got off the train, we ran without anyone noticing, made it out in 5 minutes, and managed to stock up on some food from a convenience store before hiding in a storage room at the train station. It was a brilliant hiding spot your mom found after many cycles of revival. It's remote and the door is very sturdy because of the small space. Whenever your mom and I felt like we couldn't bear it anymore, we just thought about how persevering a bit longer would allow us to see our precious daughter and be reunited as a family. No matter how tough, we could withstand it. Seeing my expression change continuously, my mom quickly added, "Don't worry, darling, it was just tough during the previous month." Later, when a base was established next to the train station, your dad and I figured out a way to avoid the zombies and sneak into the base. But you both have lost so much weight. Holding back tears, I couldn't speak for a while. Finally, I stood up. "Mom, Dad, I'll get you some food." While tearing open the package of frozen dumplings, I wiped away my tears. I didn't want to cry, but the tears just wouldn't stop. I never knew how much my parents had suffered these months, but they chose not to tell me anything to keep me from worrying. Since a few days ago, electricity and water supply had gradually been restored. I cooked the dumplings on an induction cooker and served them, 2 full plates. My parents called me to join them, and I sat down naturally. The dumplings were steaming hot, and sitting around the dining table with my family felt as surreal as a dream. Looking at the time, it was already past midnight. Today was New Year's Day. Even though the outside world is still harsh, I felt this was the happiest New Year I've ever had. Day 150 since the zombie outbreak. These days, I've gotten used to staying in this small 30-something square meter place with my parents. They sleep in the upstairs master bedroom, and I sleep on the living room sofa. At first, my dad didn't agree, insisting that I sleep upstairs with my mom, but after I firmly refused, he reluctantly agreed. The days spent reunited as a family made even the apocalyptic times bearable. We still seldom go outside, although the zombies seem to be under control. Until the day the country declares it's all clear, there's always the risk of infection. I still exchange notes with Abigail every day. She was very envious when she learned that my parents risked their lives to come find me. I don't know why, but I've never heard her mention her own parents, and I didn't ask. Today marks the 170th day since the outbreak of zombies. Spring has now begun. The basic water and electricity networks have been fully restored, and aside from the closures and quarantines, everything seems just like it was before. That day, as I was helping my mom prepare food and my dad was watering a nearly dead cactus, cheers suddenly erupted outside. What happened? My mom and I looked at each other and almost simultaneously pulled out our cell phones. As expected, a flurry of headlines had already been pushed to our phones. The zombies have been completely eradicated. We've endured and triumphed. Cheers and sounds of people running in the hallways reached us, and I just collapsed onto the ground. This nightmare had finally ended. Another school year begins. Who would have thought that the last time I was at school I was a freshman in military training, and now I've returned as a senior. I bumped into a few classmates, but they seem to be whispering about me. I heard that Scarlett died of starvation. Somehow, the rumor that I didn't help her has spread, but now I don't care what they think of me, nor do I care if they isolate me. After such a long time living through the apocalypse, my personality has completely transformed. Just then, someone tapped me on the shoulder, and a cheerful voice came from behind. Hello there, my comrade in adversity. We finally meet, this time. Let's talk face to face all night long.